Um, Well, hello, everyone. How are you doing out there? We are coming to you live from the beautiful outdoor patio of my home. I'm just going to see what happens. Plane may fly over, the dog may bark, but, these things happen. So, anyway, welcome everyone to the Impact Tribe Live. This is where we meet, greet, and learn about leaders who are positively impacting the world. I am your host, Ashley Bright. For those of you tuning in, thank you. We are streaming live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Before we get to my incredible guest, I just want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Opus Clip. If you aren't familiar with Opus, they are an amazing AI-driven video editing software that allows you to turn long-form video into clips. Super simple. It has captioning and all sorts of stuff. If you're interested, there is the discount code right there. So support us and support them and save time because I use this. It's such an amazing time saver. Okay, with all of that said, let us get to our guest. I am very excited to welcome a man who is, by his own label, comfortable being uncomfortable. The amazing Jason Barnaby. And let me make sure I get him on the stage here, and it's live.
Hey,
there we go.
Up?
Hey.
Speaking of the phrase, I came dressed appropriately.
Just nice.
Yeah.
There you go. I love it. I was actually going through your profile yesterday looking for a few different photos, and there are multiple photos of you with different versions of that shirt. So I love it. It's been evolving.
It has been. It has. That is for sure.
That is awesome. So for anyone who is tuning in and not aware, Jason is the Chief Fire Starter at Firestarters, Inc. He is also a keynote speaker, an author, and just an all-around good guy that you want to know and have in your corner. And so with that, I'll say officially welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. We go back. God, it's like, seems like a while now, but it's probably only, 7-8 months?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, we may be close to double digits, but it hasn't been a full year yet. I know that.
But we have had some conversations, very meaningful conversations that have been valuable and impactful. And so it feels like I've known you a long, long time in a positive way.
Likewise. Yeah. Not like, God, I feel like I've known you forever and it sucks.
Exactly. That's not good. That's not good.
No, that's not good.
So it was funny. I was on the Iron Tribe call yesterday and I was out here on the patio and I had on a sweater, a vest, and a hat, and I was in the breakout room, and Josh Gretsch was like, "Can I just ask, how cold is it actually in Arizona right now?"
50.
It was worse. It was probably about 65.
Oh my dude! In 65 in Indiana, there are people walking around with cut-off jean shorts and UGG boots.
Well, and I did have to qualify it a little bit because I said, truthfully, it was cold this morning, and when I say cold, it's probably about 40, so it's not brutal,
right.
But it is chilly, and so I was all dressed up because I'd taken the kids to school, and I just was in a comfy place. And so, did I need it? Did I need the vest and the sweater and the hat? No, I actually had the hat on, and then I took it off. I'm like, this is stupid.
Nice. Well, the good news for you with the hat is it doesn't mess up your hair.
This is true.
So you can see, I always have to think, am I going to pull the hat off? How's it? Because at the core of Jason, there's a very vain man who likes to make sure that everything's just right. So,
well, I understand. I think we can all relate to that. So let me ask you this, Jason. So I know about you. I know what you're up to. But why don't you tell our visitors, our guests, what you do and what Firestarter is all about?
Yeah, thank you for that. So I knew probably from the time that I was in my 20s, if not before that I was going to own a company someday. I grew up as the son of an entrepreneur. My dad has started multiple businesses, and so I've just seen how that works. And being your own boss, the the pros, the cons, the highs, the lows, which there are both on either side of that equation. And so I lived overseas for several years, and I was a teacher. I was a college professor, and I came back here, and I was like, I taught for a little bit, and I was like, ooh, teaching here is very different. And what I mean by that is the pay sucks, and so do the benefits. So I was like, in the 2 years that I was a full-time teacher, I had 6 W-2s. And
Wow.
I tell people those are only the legal jobs. I'm not counting like the grass cutting, the house painting, and all the other things on the side. So, long story short, I started this company when I received the gift of severance of my almost 10-year corporate career. I saw that coming. I knew that it was coming, and I hired a consultant with money that I didn't have. Um, Put it on a credit card, which I don't necessarily advocate for. However, I needed help, and that was the way that it was going to happen, and it did. And really, the pillar, the framework of my company, um, is it started out find your fire, fan your flame. And I was really big when I first started in finding your tribe. So that was the
Hmm.
third pillar.
Hmm.
Still a big proponent of that. Jim Rohn has a great quote that says, we're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. 100% agree with that. Have seen it play out. Iron Tribe is a perfect example. These men make us better. I have pivoted over the last couple of years to find your fire, fan your flame, ignite your life. And so
Hmm.
I believe that most of us, no, let me track that back. I'll say it this way. I believe that all of us, and that book that's right up there on the shelf that was my first book talks about that we all have this ember, this fire inside of us, and it's our life's work to figure out what that thing is, and to fan it into a flame that does two things: that warms and feeds us, but also attracts other people to us. And unfortunately, what I find in what I do is that most people don't look much like a bonfire or a campfire. They look more like the pile of ashes the next day.
Hmm.
And so my whole thing is, how do we breathe new life into those embers that are still there? There's still a little smoke, there's still a little heat, but you got to get on your hands and knees and get dirty, put some new kindling on there. You got to blow some fresh oxygen in there. And soon, if anybody listening has ever done that, you will know that it doesn't take much to get a flame burning again. So I do that with individuals, I do that with companies, I do that with a lot of executives. And the thing that I've really pivoted to, which was my one of the biggest contributions I had while in the corporate world, is I've pivoted to a place of doing fractional sales work. And for anybody who's listening, because it's funny to me, I live in that world. So I'm like, fractional sales. And people are like, what? I don't fraction. What does that mean? Like a quarter of you shows up? Like, how do you do that? You just work with one arm? Like, what is that? No, what it means, it's the buzzy word for part-time, right? So I I get hired by clients at chunks of hours per week or per month to go in and help them run their sales teams. And the reason that I love this most of all is because I love sales. I've been in sales since I was 10 years old, and I was a paper boy. I don't even think you can do that anymore in this world. And and so it's sales centric, and I am able to help develop people, which are really two of my most favorite things. Next to being on a stage of any size with any size crowd, those two, sales and developing people, are my two other favorite things in the world. So I do that.
That's great. I can relate. I was a paper boy for many years
Yeah.
in the early morning, and it was legit cold. Where in those early
Oh,
mornings, this wasn't in Arizona, but still, it wasn't in Indiana or anywhere like that. But
yeah.
it was cold. But no, I understand that. And so let me ask you this: when you're doing the fractional work, the sales, is it kind of very much incorporating what you're doing with Firestarter in
Yeah.
terms of those techniques and that?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of things that I do with it. Doesn't matter who the client is or what we're doing. I always start with an Enneagram assessment. I am a certified Enneagram coach. Um,
I owe you mine. Sorry about
that's
that.
that's all right. I check from time to time just to see if you've done it, and I figure you'll get to it when you do it.
Yep.
Um, I I've done DISC, I've done Myers Briggs, I've done Predictive Index, I've done the Genius one. I've done all of them. I think they're all great tools. I think every leader should do at least one at least once in their life, because if you don't know yourself, I don't know how you really can expect to lead other people. The thing for me that the Enneagram does is it talks about what you look like in stress. And that was incredibly important to me because I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky, shoot from the hip kind of guy. But when I get stressed, I become a micromanaging pain in your ass. And when that happens, people are like, "What happened to the Jason where's that guy?"
Yeah.
And here's what's funny: I didn't realize this until I was in my 40s, and I got the results back from my Enneagram, and I was like, "Well, that's interesting. I'm not sure I really do that." All three of our children were home at the time, so I went into the breakfast nook and I was like, "Hey, kids, is dad like this when he gets stressed?" They almost peed their pants laughing because they were like, yeah, dad, you are a list maker, especially on Saturdays when we're cleaning. So I love this. I love this particular assessment because it really helps you as a leader figure out what you look like in stress. You can share that with your people, because here's the other thing I find that happens a lot in business, Ashley, is if you and I are working together and I'm your boss and you don't know how I react in stress, and suddenly I become a micromanaging list. I give you a list and you're like, what did I like?
Yeah.
Joey didn't get a list. Sarah didn't get a list. Why did I get the list? And truth be told, you're probably the first person I saw when I walked in the office. And it probably has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with my 16-year-old daughter who overslept her alarm for the 7th time in a row. That's a very true scenario, by the way. And I'm taking my stress out on you. So we definitely start with that. And then it's a lot of, what are you afraid of? What's the talk track that you have in your head? For that book up there, I have a master's degree in teaching English as a foreign language. When I was writing that book, I was looking for the perfect word for like head trash, automatic negative thoughts, imposter syndrome. Couldn't find the word. So I was like, well, you know what? I've been a college professor. I have a master's degree in English. I'm entitled. I'll just make a word up. So I did that. And the word is what if abouts. And so we talk about the what if abouts, because what happens is, for example, let's say you were talking about doing this Impact Tribe Live thing, and you're like, your what if abouts may have been, well, what if nobody listens? What if nobody agrees to be my guest? What if nobody shows up? All that stuff. And what happens is we start believing the jerk that lives up here in our head who just wants to be comfortable and left alone. And anytime we poke him, it's like poking the bear, and the bear's like, "Arr!" And we get scared and go, "Oh, we poked the bear. We better not do that." And so we talk about, if you're in sales, what are you afraid of when you call somebody? What are you afraid of when they give you a rejection and say no? What are you going to say? Because they're going to say no. Somebody's going to say no to you eventually. And so we talk through that. We also talk about just how do we balance our self-care. I find that a lot of people pour out to others. And the saying that I use a lot, I'm trying to see if I have one here. I do. Hold on one second. So the saying that I use is, you can see there's a little bit of water in there, right? Yeah. So if I pour that water metaphorically into somebody else, now they've got the water, but this is me trying to pour into other people that don't have anything left. Look at that. I can shake this thing. I may get a drop or two out like I just did, but eventually there's not going to be anything left in here. So you're going to spend all kinds of energy trying to pour out of this into other people, and there's not going to be anything there. And so we talk about, what do we need? What are healthy boundaries look like? How do we make sure that we are okay when we win and when we don't win? And then the other thing that I love to do, because I know I work a lot with smaller businesses, like the 50 to 100 person businesses, where the CEO's wearing a lot of hats, the executive team's wearing a lot of hats. And so what I can do is I can come in and work with an executive team. A lot of times it's a CEO who's been doing the sales, and say, hey, would you like to have 12 hours of your week back? And they're like, what do you mean I can get 12? Yeah, I will take over your sales meetings. I'll take over your one-on-ones. I'll manage the KPIs. You go do the things that you need to do to continue growing the business. I'll make sure that the salespeople do what they need to do. And I freaking love it.
That's awesome. You get to kind of balance. You get to really inspire, and then you also get to do the thing that you love from your corporate world.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic.
That's awesome. Well, so I want to acknowledge we've got some comments coming in. Frank Vidal. Do you know Frank Vidal? He's a local community OG here in Tucson.
That I know that we are connected, and I know that I have seen his comments and things on LinkedIn.
He is an amazing individual, and he's actually going to be our guest in the new year in
Ooh,
January.
nice.
And so he was just chiming in 2 comments. Jim Rohn is the best.
He is
No
amazing.
argument there.
Yep.
And then he's obviously further ahead than me in that he actually completed the Enneagram because he says I'm a 1 wing 2.
Ooh.
Or at least I was a few years ago. I don't even know what that means, but
Yeah. So let me just say to Frank, I think that's awesome. Frank, you and I would probably have some challenges in some ways. So ones are those people who like, this is what the rules say, and you got to do what the rules say, and it's very black and white. And I'm a 7 wing 8, so I'm an enthusiast with a challenger wing in there. And so for me, Frank, you'll appreciate this. Um, Rules for a 7 are strong suggestions. So that's important for me to know if I'm working with the team that has a lot of ones, because I'm just gonna, there's some things I'm gonna be like, and they're gonna be like, no, that's the way that we need to do it. And I appreciate that, and I respect that, and I like to challenge that. Just saying.
well, I've found Frank to be great at that. He's very direct,
Yep.
and he sort of says, "This is what I think,"
Yep.
and then it's on you to decide. Well, okay, thanks, Frank. I'm going to
Yep.
take that. David Landis, who we both know
Yep.
is in the house as well. He's saying I'm a 1 split 2 and 9.
Yep, I can see that. And David being a former firefighter, that makes perfect sense. Like the rules of the firefighting, the 2 is the helper, the 9 is the peacemaker. And knowing David the way that I do, he is a perfect blend of the 1, 2, and 9. And I love the fact that he has lived long enough in that space to also be able to go, yeah, we can challenge, some of the boundaries, but also the rules are the rules. So if you just follow the rules and do the things you're supposed to do, that's part of his coaching, right? Here are the
Yep.
things that you need to do. Are you doing the things that you've done? Are you doing the things that you've said you were going to do? And I love that about him because he is absolutely unwavering.
Awesome. And so Frank's just issued a challenge. He says that I need to take the test so the three of us can have coffee sometime. So,
ooh, I would love that. I have a feeling I know what you are. I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want to say that I'm wrong. But I will say when we all have coffee, I will confirm or deny whether that my prediction was correct.
yes, I feel like there's a little bit of denial about like finding that out. That's probably one of the reasons I haven't dismissed the email yet. It's still there with a little star, but it's waiting. So
Yep.
hey there, Chuck is in the house as well.
Ooh, Mr. Chuck.
We're getting a whole crew here. This is
love it.
awesome. So let me ask you this: what? Obviously, you've seen a lot of things. You've done a lot of things. You are impacting people's lives. I'm curious, who are the people in your life, past, present, and maybe future? Maybe you're seeing some people coming who have had an impact on you, and what have you learned from those individuals?
Oh my gosh. Ashley, that would be like literally that would be an entire another conversation for us to have, I think. But I will say I'm gonna, this may not be fair, but I'm gonna group them. I would say anybody who has shown up for an Iron Tribe call, I learn something every time I'm on there from whoever it is, if it's somebody I know well or somebody that I've never met before. I will say that I just think, and I want to shout him out because he is one of the wisest people I've ever met, and he's so far ahead of the curve, and that's Tyler Jackson. That dude, I mean, I'm sure there are going to be people who are listening who remember the E.F. Hutton commercials. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Tyler Jackson is the E.F. Hutton of that generation. He just is a guy who really reflects well and asks such great questions. I would also include in that Renee Wright, who I am really, I met her through an Iron Tribe meeting in Chicago. She was at another meeting that we connected with. We are looking to put on a retreat, probably kind of an exotic thing sometime in 25. So stay tuned if that's something that you're into. And exotic meaning the place, like
I was gonna say, like, let's
exotic,
qualify that. It's
I know what I mean. I'm not sure that where everybody else's brain went. But seriously, the guys, Chuck and David, you, Mark Holden, Andrew DeGood, so many of those guys that are on there. But I would also include in that one of my most favorite people in the entire world is Andrea Butcher. She is also a 7 on the Enneagram. We also share a birthday, the actual day, not the year. She's a little younger than I am. But we have just been doing some really tough work. Sevens are really good at running away from things and just like, oh, I don't see those things. I don't see them. La, 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 la. And we have agreed with each other to keep each other accountable for sitting in the suck. And as much as I hate it, I also love it. Are we? I mean, I know I already have, but are we allowed to? Does this have like an explicit warning? Are we allowed to say
It doesn't, and I've never really had to deal with it. So, but
okay?
roll, please.
So I did a podcast for Ted Lasso for all 3 seasons that they had. And if you have not watched the 3rd season of Ted Lasso, I'm going to spoil a little bit, but it's been out for a while, so it's your fault for not seeing it. Anyway, so there's a part where Ted Lasso's mom shows up, and he looks at her and he says, "Mom, thank you for letting me grieve after Dad died, and fuck you for not doing the things that you should have done that I really needed." And he goes through that sequence about 3 or 4 different times. And I've said that out loud to Andrea. Thank you so much for like bringing this work to my attention, and fuck you for making me sit in the suck, because I don't like it. And I'm so much better on the other side. And I do just want to say, Ashley, because there was a time in my life last year where lowest of lows, and I had people telling me, like, well-meaning, and I now in retrospect I appreciate it, and they were super well-meaning, but they would say, you know, you're going to appreciate this so much more when you're on the other side. And part of me was like, fuck off, because right now this sucks, and I don't want you to tell me that I'm going to appreciate it. I probably will, and in fact I actually do very deeply. But for me personally, that was not something that I loved hearing. And as I have reflected on it, I'm also glad now that they did say it, because I can reflect on it and have those things. So it's true on both sides, I guess.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think we know that there's light at the end of that tunnel. I mean, that's the reason we have these sayings and these cliches. But
That's right.
It's hard to see it when you're in the suck. And
It is. It is. And it's, I mean, I don't know anybody who would sign up and go, oh yeah, let me go walk through quicksand and hip waders during a hailstorm. Like, that sounds like a great time. And that's pretty much where I felt like I was for most of 23.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking very personally here, you and I have talked about that in some detail, and it's I've always appreciated your transparency about that and that experience, because it's helped me, you know, because we're all going through different levels, different depths of quicksand potentially in our lives, and it's important to. And that's one of the things I think, you know, you called out a bunch of people from the Iron Tribe. Frank is not part of the Iron Tribe, but Frank I include in this group as well. Just people that are there for you. They have that empathy, that compassion. They share a story. They help you out, and so I just want to say thank you to you, Jason, for that, and to everybody who's watching, for helping me start to see that other side, start to see the opportunities that are out there. And
well, I really appreciate that, and I do want to mention one thing quickly before we move on to anything else. So in the depths of all those things last year, right around this time, a little bit earlier, more closer to Thanksgiving, we were served foreclosure notice papers on my house, and super embarrassed, super shamed, really pissed at myself, and just all those things. And I remember saying this to my wife. The first thing I said, because she's got a pretty tight group of ladies that she hangs with, a small group, and I said, I don't want you to tell them, because I'm so embarrassed and I'm so ashamed. And so I just want folks to understand, like, the growth in me that has happened to be able to share that openly, because I wanted to bury it and hide it. And what I've realized as I have shared more about those things, my mental health struggles, ADHD struggles, the things that I thought people would judge me for, or make fun of me for, or dismiss me for, exactly the opposite of that happened. And the DMs and the text messages and all the things that I have gotten as I have shared that, for people thanking me because they are in similar situations, and they tell me, which blows my mind, that me sharing that helps them feel a little bit better about it, helps them be able to open up to other people about it. And to me, like, with all the shit that I went through in 22 and 23, I'm to a point where I just don't care anymore if people like me or don't, and so I feel way more free to share those things. And I'm finding the more free I am and the more true I am about me, the and I'm not doing it for the response, but the more positive the response comes back to me, because people are like, dude, you're so authentic. And it's not like I hit record on a video and like, okay, here comes authentic Jason. I'm just like, most of the time I hit record and then I hit post and I don't ever go back and watch it
Mm.
again. And the ones that I don't think are authentic are the ones most of the time that people are like, dude, thank you so much for saying this or doing that. And so I just want to encourage anybody that's watching or sees this later, if you're in that space, find at least one person that you can talk to and share openly with. I can almost guarantee you that the person that you're talking to will share something similar to what you're going through, and you will have no idea that they're going through that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is, I think there's so much, media and social media has created so much of this sort of echo chamber of negativity, which
Yes.
we all get sucked into. But the flip side of that is that now more than ever, because you and I are of a generation when we remember what it was like before the internet, before social media,
So
before we
much
could just
better.
text. Exactly. But to your point, it was harder to see other people struggling, and I think harder to have that conversation.
Yes.
Whereas I think now, I don't know if it's just because we have so many connections, it's easier to kind of, well, I'm going to test the waters with this person, and
Mhm.
or that immediacy of like, I'm freaking out right now, and text. And I love that we had that. I brought it up yesterday actually on the Iron Tribe call, the you got 8 minutes, which is sort of
So
this
good.
like little bit of a bat signal to kind of say like, hey, I just need some time. I just need
Right.
a conversation. And so I'll second what Jason said. If anyone's out there and is having those moments, please reach out. Please find someone. You're happy to reach out to me if you'd like.
Me as well.
And just hey, we're all going through shit. I
For
think this
sure.
is, by the way, I appreciate, Jason, you've broken the ice here, because I don't think I've had swearing on our show yet. I think we're 3 or 4 in. So
Comfortable being uncomfortable, baby. That's just
exactly,
we're just
exactly.
practicing what we preach.
Awesome. Thank you for breaking that open.
I'm
Um,
happy to oblige.
Absolutely. So, I'm curious, what kind of things? So, you're obviously you're loving what you're doing. You're empowering people. You're lighting that fire. You're stoking the flames. What do you do for fun? What do you do for
Mm,
joy outside of work and fractional leadership
yep.
and sales and other things?
I appreciate the question. Uh, I'm a poet. I love to write
Mm,
poetry.
really? I
Yep.
would not have suspected that, but I love
Yep.
it.
I've written poems for my wife. I've written poems for my kids. I've written poems about stuff in life. I've turned a couple of them into songs. Right over here on my wall, which you cannot see, is a acoustic guitar, which is hanging. I put it up on my wall this year because I wanted it used to sit in another room in a case. So when I wanted to play, I had to. So now I just pull it off. Sometimes I'll do it between calls. Love to play music. I love listening to music. I used to have a really great Sony, like back in the 80s, the detachable speaker thing that you could put together and make a boom box.
Oh yeah.
Some of the people are like, a what? They're Googling boombox right now. But I would put the speakers on either side of my head, and just I can listen to music for hours. And I especially like live music, singer songwriter music. I'm not a big pop music fan because I'm a lyrics guy.
Mm,
Um, I used to be a runner. I used to really enjoy running, and then I broke my foot about 6 years ago, and that
mm,
phase of my life is, I think, pretty much gone. So this year I've started doing weight training. I'm not going to be in any competitions. I just want to be stronger, and so I work out with a trainer, and we have a couple of other people. We do like semi-private uh, uh, sessions with 2 or 3 other people. I really enjoy that because it's a social thing. We're all
mhm,
pushing each other a little bit. And then another thing that I really enjoy is just I love being in nature. My wife really does too. We like to take our dog for long walks. Um, I really do believe that the trees talk, and
mhm.
I intentionally leave my phone at home when I go on long walks with my dog because I want to. I've been very mindful about practicing mindfulness the last couple of years, and for those who are listening who are like, I hear that buzzy word all the time, mindfulness. What's that mean? It just simply means being present in the present. And if you think you are, remember the last time that you went and picked up your kids from school, went to the store, drove to work, and you pull in the parking space and you're like, I have no idea how the hell I got here.
Yep.
That is the opposite of mindfulness. So part of it is noticing the things that are around us. And I'm a big sensory experience person. I like all the senses. And so that's very seven of me, because sevens love all the things, hashtag all the things. So I'm also one of those people that if you called me and you said, hey, Jason, would you like to, before you finish the question, I would say yes. And then I would go, so what are we doing? So I love being like the third or the fourth or the fifth guy who gets called like, hey, we need a fourth. And that's also the reason that I almost flunked out of undergrad twice. Ultimate Frisbee, people needing extra teammates, and a fourth for the game of euchre, which outside of the Midwest isn't terribly well known.
Wow, all these things. So poetry, ultimate frisbee, and euchre.
Yeah, euchre.
I've never heard of that, but
Yeah,
there you
it's
go.
a very Midwest thing.
Oh, okay. Well, so Google that. Whoever's out there,
there
Google
you go.
that. That's awesome. So, what is the thing that you want to be remembered for when your energy has left this world?
That's a great question. Because again, as a seven, like one of the hardest things for a seven is to ask them their favorite thing, because we don't have favorites.
Yes.
But if there was one thing, I would say that I want to be remembered for helping other people realize the fire that's inside of them that they didn't know that they had, and helping them turn that into a flame that makes a difference. And you may or may not be able to see, but it fucking chokes me up every single time, because I've experienced it in my own life. I've seen it happen with other people that I work with. And man, I call it the facilitating an aha moment. And if there was a way to bottle that and put it in a drug form, I would be an addict for the rest of my life, because there is no greater. It is a privilege. It is an honor. It is an opportunity. And it is so freaking cool to watch people go, oh, now I get it. And then to see them take those steps. Another one of my favorite quotes is a quote from Jack Canfield that says, everything you want is on the other side of fear. And I'm a firm believer in that. And so if I can help somebody open a door that they're terrified to open, and then they just see all these other opportunities that are there that they never knew existed, that would be a life well lived for me.
Wow. Well, not bad for a seven, I must say.
Thank you.
Arriving at that place. No, I appreciate that. I think we can all feel kind of what that means to you and that impact. And it really is pretty heady stuff to be able to take someone that is in that place, as you described it, kind of there's a little bit of smoke, but it's all kind of there. And then you just kind of, blow on it, start to kind of get it going. And
it looks kind of like that thing back there in the background.
I see that.
Burning.
That's amazing. So, well, thank you so much, Jason. Is there anything you've got upcoming that people should know about, or ways that people can learn more about you or support what you're doing?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I would say connect with me on LinkedIn. I have a commitment to be more active. I got less active probably the second half of this year. I just got pretty busy, and but connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love if there's anybody that's looking for a keynote speaker. That's the thing I love more than anything. And I just find that I'm able to give business leaders some time back. So if you're no commitment necessary, no obligation. I'd love to just talk about options. I'm a big options person. And then the other thing is I am toying around with, I haven't done one for a while, but I'm toying around with doing a small cohort that will meet throughout 25 and just really dig deep into some of the fire starters content of things that I think will change your life. So I don't even know what that's going to look like yet, but if somebody's interested in that, And like I said, Renee Wright and I are checking out a potential fall option for like a 4 or 5 day retreat in like Puerto Rico or Costa
Mm.
Rica or somewhere that's just going to be, we're calling it Soul Fire because she's got this soul thing. I've got the fire thing. We put it together for Soul Fire. It's pretty awesome. So if that's something that you're like, ooh, I would love to do that. What does that look like? Or at least put me on the list, hit me up and I'll make sure that you get on the list.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love all these things, and you can put me on the list for several of those because
absolutely. I will. Thank you.
I love the fire. I love the energy, and as you said, it's all right there. It
It's
just
right there.
sometimes it's roaring, and sometimes it's just percolating. It's just doing its thing. So awesome. Well, Jason, thank you so much, my friend. I
Thank
really
you.
really
I
appreciate.
really,
I've been looking forward to this.
same. I mean, we talked about this several months ago, and this week I was like, oh, it's this week. That's so exciting. So
It's a great way to end the year, I think, on a positive note, and I think optimistic about what the new year can bring, and what we all have inside of us. And so, I want to say again, thank you, Jason, and
yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
to everyone who tuned in. I'm going to call out some names here: Frank, Chuck, David Landis, and everyone else that's watching. And thank you so much. And if you missed this, it will be available for replay on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Do people still use
Awesome.
Facebook? I hope
Maybe,
so. I don't know.
maybe.
And a big shout out to our sponsor, Opus Clip. And since Frank is still on the line, I hope, join me for the next Impact Tribe Live on
Awesome.
Thursday, January 2nd. Yes, that is 2025,
Wow.
with my special guest, Frank Vidal. Frank is the philanthropy manager at Tohono Chul Park and the founder and host of Tucson Thrive, a weekly virtual mastermind for the movers and shakers in
Ooh.
our community. So definitely tune in for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so with that, I will say thank you again, my friend, and
Thank you.
happy
Appreciate it.
holidays to you and yours. And thank you for
Absolutely.
everyone who tuned in. I hope you have a wonderful holiday, and all the best for the new year. So with
Thanks,
that,
Ashley.
we are out. You're very welcome. Cheers, everyone.
See ya.